I feel like everyone can use therapy. Even successful business people need someone to vent to sometimes, you know? It's just
Sure.
another person.
And I'm not arguing that at all. I understand the benefits of therapy, and I'm sure I could benefit from therapy, at least for the short term. I don't think a long term therapist, I don't think there's a point for me, but I could get going for like a month or two and figuring out what issues are going on with a certain situation or something. Or if you're really struggling with life in general and you need to go and talk some things out, cool, but I don't ever see myself going for a long term thing.
See, I almost 10 years ago never thought, I thought I had the same exact mindset. I was like, you know what? I'm sick of trying to open up to people. It's very hard to open up to people. We were raised to not want to open up to people, right?
Sure.
So the way that you were raised, you internalized a lot of what was going on in your life, probably like I did.
Maybe somewhat. Sure.
But you just feel like what you internalized wasn't the catalyst that kind of made you have your downfall
No, not at all. It was things that were, those things were just going on in life.
consecutively.
Yeah. And it
Okay.
doesn't matter because you got to think about it this way. Like, then I was struggling, very much so. I was struggling, and it wasn't so much because of past things, in my opinion, or at the time. Like every time I used, it wasn't to fill a void or anything like that. It turned into that over time, just because that's what the drugs do to you. It's not
Right.
really anything crazy, but I needed it just to get through the day so that I could take care of my kids and be upbeat and everything. And that was the main reason I used for a long time until it completely took hold and it was like I need it for everything because I'm thinking of any excuse I can just to use.
Do you ever think that some of the issues like being cheated on, because you have been cheated on multiple times by multiple different people, you
Sure.
don't think that that had anything to do with some of your anxiety or you internalizing certain things and using more because you have these situations going on? Like if I was a man and I was told that a child was mine and it wasn't, that would affect me mentally.
So this is the way I look at it. Yes, I'm sure being cheated on framed like the way I operate in relationships and some of the things that I do, absolutely, because it's something that I experienced, I grew from, and I realized that into my next relationships and getting with people and all that stuff, that I had something I had to watch out for. I couldn't trust women to just like be in a relationship with somebody. Then as I grew and stuff, I realized you can't trust anybody to be in a relationship with anybody. It's just the way people are. So it did it do some lasting trauma to me? I don't think so. Did it make it so that I was more guarded so that whenever I was going into a relationship, I didn't get burned early on? Hell yeah.
Did you realize that you were guarded? Did you realize that you were bringing that stuff into potential new relationships?
Definitely, but why wouldn't I be?
Right.
Because it's not like this just happened like one time where it was one little lie or one little cheat or whatever. This was my wife that cheated. This was the person that like was my first love that had a very large lie and said that a child was mine that wasn't.
That's huge. That right there, I feel like could still bring some hurt and pain to you, even though you might not think that it does. Because did you start to feel attached and connected and, you know, hopeful that you were going to bring this child into the world. And then all of a sudden that's ripped out from underneath of you. And that's not the truth anymore. And then
Yeah.
you have to face the reality of, oh my God, this person stepped out on me.
Kind of, but I think it was different for me just because I wasn't actually like a part of any of it. You know what I mean? Like she once my son was born, she made sure that she like didn't see me for the first couple months. So it happened and I was frustrated and it was like all the emotions and like I'm pissed off, I want to see him, blah blah blah. But
Right.
it kind of like almost passed, if that makes sense, where the emotions, I was still hurt and I was frustrated and I did want to see him, but it wasn't happening. And I think I hit a point where I started to realize, okay, maybe she's full of shit. I wanted to be there just in case, but she wasn't allowing that to happen anyway. So there's nothing I can do. I mean,
Right.
we
You detached. So basically, you kind of detached yourself from the situation because you were forced to detach yourself.
right there was no point freaking out over something that like I don't know when I'm going to see him. It could be months. So why am I going to be miserable every day? I have a life to live.
Now, during this time, was anybody sending you like pictures of what he looked like, or were you? So you had none of that. You didn't have like, oh, this could be, this couldn't be. Were you going through that back and forth, like?
It was to the point we had people watching, like we had people in town that were kind of scoping out normal areas they would go, and we were figuring out kind of where they lived and stuff. And like one of my homies would hit me up and be like, hey, I just saw them at Walmart, get your ass here. And I would roll up getting ready to take my kid back.
Wow.
And we never got him in time.
Wow.
And then she would pop back up and she'd be like, hey, you know, do you want to come see him? Blah, blah, blah. Whatever we got to do. And it would kind of just keep going back and forth like that all the time.
Was your family supportive to you during this time, or did you have no family support?
They weren't really supportive, no.
And that's difficult because here you are not knowing if you're potentially a father or not, and you don't have support at that time. For me, I think that support, everyone needs support and love from someone. And when you're not getting that and those needs aren't getting met, I feel like people internalize things and they start to, hold resentments. Like you didn't build this big, huge resentment for this woman, because I know I would have.
I did. I mean, yeah, I did somewhat. But there was still that question of whether or not he was mine. Like I was trying to be responsible and take care of what I needed to do just in case he was mine. But at the same time, she just proved over and over again that she's not going to let me be a part of any of it. So what was the point of doing all that?
When did you finally get the confirmation that that child was not biologically your child?
When he was like 3.
Wow.
Somewhere around.
Why did it take 3 years? What was the delay in getting testing done? Or I could not live 3 years of my life not knowing. As a man, that's got to be a very difficult position to be in, to be honest with you. Like women, I guess maybe they've experienced not knowing who the father potentially could be of a child if they know that they stepped out. I've never been there before as a woman, so
I don't know. I dealt with it the way I needed to, because like what is the point of sitting there and dwelling on it?
But like when holidays would pass, or would you ever think, or would you ever like want to look up on Facebook or look up to see if you could see like, what they're up to, or if she had a new boyfriend, or like that stuff is hard.
It is. And I knew she didn't have a new boyfriend. I knew she was doing the same old shit. So
Right. I don't know. I feel like women are different than men. Women internalize things differently. I just feel like women are more emotionally connected and men are not. It's just in our nature to be more connected to people.
yes, I agree. Women are more emotionally connected to a lot of different things. My biggest thing is I think the whole reason why I detached myself was because I wasn't getting anywhere with it. So what's the point of like dwelling on that and constantly worrying about that? When I'm young, I'm trying to further myself. I'm trying to pull things together and live my best life. Life is short, so I don't want to waste it all just because she is literally trying to ruin my life. So whenever she would come back into it, I would open up and do what I needed to do. And yeah, I was stupid and got my hopes up and stuff like that. But I knew that I couldn't like expect these things to go well.
See, now that's the difference clearly between you and I. Because
Sure.
as a woman, I've allowed things to go on and on and on for years. And that's my problem. I never know when to cut ties and pull myself out of situations because I just keep giving people I think if I could change, other people are capable of those changes. But I've clearly been told otherwise. I've been shown otherwise in life.
But think about how much time that is wasting.
I
You know what I
know.
mean?
And that's what breaks my heart because that's the difference between you and I. I have wasted years and years and years of my life. And I'm getting to the point where I don't want to keep doing that. I think when as women, like I'm in my 40s. I got like 10 years on you, okay?
Sure.
I feel like I'm in a different place in my life where I'm now realizing shit, I'm almost like washed up. Like I either figure this shit out now or I just stay stuck and I don't want to stay stuck. But you were able to just detach easier. I think that's because of some of my own past trauma that like I don't want to abandon people. I have a hard time letting people go because I don't want them to feel abandoned by me in the end.
So I am the same way.
Okay.
It's not that I don't want them to feel abandoned. I guess all of this stuff happening kind of framed me into more of a loyal person.
I
So
like that. But see that shows that you've changed. Like it did something to you to change because you didn't want to go out and keep doing that. That made you
right.
more of a loyal. Not everyone gets that though. Not every man is capable of making those changes.
And that's the difference between me and a lot of people, which is why I don't 100% feel like therapy and dwelling on my feelings and all this stuff is going to benefit me because I experienced these things in the past. And yes, some of them were hard. Some of them beat me down to the ground at those times. But I figured out I need to keep it moving. Like I said, life is short. I already wasted damn near a decade of my life on pills and all that bullshit. Why do I want to waste another minute? Because once you do start getting to 50, 60, 70 years old, that's not to say you can't completely change your life around and make the rest of it good. But at the same time, you just have less time to improve. Like now, like right this second to I kind of felt like I was in a rut where I want to kind of like take care of myself so I can live longer and be there for my kids and do the right things and have more energy and stop the anxiety and kind of all those things. So I'm focusing on right now, I'm smoking less. I'm eating less like salts and nasty food. I'm having less coffee, energy drinks, all that. So what I'm doing, I have every single week when Sunday hits, I take one of the things that I'm working on and just cut it back just a little bit. And every single week I'm cutting more and more and more. And if there's something I start struggling with, I don't cut anything back, but I add something good. Like whenever,
Well, I like that because that shows that in the process, you're giving yourself grace when you need to. And that is
yes,
the most important part because you can't pour from an empty cup.
yeah, you can't force it because that's
Right.
what's going to make you fail. So, and I've tried to do things like, oh, I'm going to completely quit smoking or really, really fast. I'm going to cut off cigarettes and all that stuff. And I don't have structure to it and all that stuff. So it's like whenever I do that, I fail because I have too much going on in my life. So having something like that where it's like if I cut back on smoking too much, it will physically affect me. Like I will know because I've been smoking for so long.
Right.
So I can't do those things. So I am just slowly trying to get rid of the bad while introducing the good.
But I like that because it shows that you have goals and it shows that you're motivated. But you also recognize when you need a little timeout, like, hello, I've done a little too much this week and let's put a pause to some of this. But
And
you're still moving forward.
So whenever it came to the whole Amanda and the kids and all of that, it's like I don't want people to think that I'm unfeeling or something like that.
Listen, everyone's different. We're all unique. We all have different genetics. We all come from different backgrounds. We all have different trauma. So some things, it's like it doesn't make you feel like a heartless person.
Right.
It's just you process things differently, but that's okay. We're all different.
And I don't think that it's a man or woman thing. Like I know women that process things the way I do. I know men that process things where they're freaking hyper emotional.
So real quick about the man and woman thing.
Sure.
When it comes to like the cheating, I, in my head, and this is a real belief that I have, everyone's going to do it, no matter who it is. That's what I've been shown. So that's what I believe. So, but to you, you were like, in the beginning, you're like, oh, like all women are going to cheat on me. I feel the same way.
So I initially thought that.
How did you change that, though?
You know what? I take that back.
That's where I'm struggling. That's where I struggle.
But I take that back. It wasn't that I thought all women were going to cheat on me. I thought that no matter what, all women were going to betray me in some sort of way.
Right.
Which I had to kind of look at myself and look at that as I was getting into more relationships and be like, okay, maybe that's not how it is. Yes, you're going to get betrayed. Everyone betrays somebody at some point. It does happen. But if you set your boundaries, I don't want to say have your walls up, but if you
protect your heart.
Yeah, it's just if you go in with the expectation of like, I can trust this person and we just have to work together, it made me work with people more in my relationships because then I could actually avoid those situations where it's like, oh, I'm getting screwed over because we could just have a conversation.
Did you recognize red flags quicker the more relationships that you kept having? Like, were you able to filter that out? Because
that's why I wouldn't get with a lot of people because I saw the red flags.
Right.
I don't even like calling them red flags because it's not a red flag. It's just your personality. It's not wrong. It's just that's not what I'm looking for.
Right.
And I understand there are some things that like somebody is going to be willing to work on and someone's not going to be willing to work on. And you guys kind of have to think about that whenever you're getting into a relationship with somebody because you'll figure out like, is this person going to grow and be worth the time and further me? Because as much as we don't want to say it, in our lives, we are the main character. We are the one that's important. We're the ones that are trying to further ourselves. There are other people in that circle that we care about, but we want to further us. So I had to figure out who I could be with that would further me or further my family goals or job goals, whatever I was going for. So it's not like I was looking at it like, oh, I'm going to get hurt again. It's just I want to grow and I need this person to grow with me. And if that's not going to happen, you're out.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
With you, why do you think you're stuck?
I don't know. It's this repetitive. It's like in therapy, we have things that are called stuck points that you keep cycling back to. Like intrusive thoughts that are consistent are called what you call stuck points. And I have certain stuck points that are stuck in my head. Like no one is going to be faithful to me. That's one of them. That comes from the trauma, though, that I've been throughout my life, because that's what I've been shown. That is exactly what I've consistently been shown. So why would I know any different? Why would I believe different is out there?
But why does that have to be trauma?
What do you mean?
So why is that trauma? Why are you letting that be trauma and affect you so much? Because all that is, okay, you know, these three, four people, whatever, that betrayed you or and cheated on you, that's the type of person you probably don't want to go for.
Right.
But
And you know what people keep telling me? Go for the opposite that you ever went for. Like, go way outside the box.
and it doesn't
Way
have to
outside
be
the box.
it doesn't have to be completely opposite. It just needs to be people that have different values and stuff like that. And because you're basically accusing people before you know them, before anything.
You're
You are
right.
going to cheat on me, even though you are nothing like the people that cheated on me. That's like all these bitter chicks that you see on the internet that are just like, oh yeah, all guys suck and they just want one thing. They just want, you know, my puss and all that stuff. That's all bullshit. There are the guys that you have been going for that are like that. So go for somebody with different values.
But also, what you're not understanding is when somebody has a lot of complex trauma, like CPTSD, like
Yes.
really from their childhood on, we carry these things throughout our life. This
Yes.
is what makes us form relationships. And sometimes we don't make the best decisions because we were never taught correctly and we don't know any better. So, our value, like my self value, is kind of down here sometimes.
You do know better though. You learned, you had those experiences and those people that treated you like crap, and from there it's whether you can adapt and learn, which people can adapt and learn to certain things and not able to do that with other things. So you got to figure out where your strength is in adapting in a relationship so those things don't happen. Does that make sense?
Honestly, I feel super closed off. I have no interest. I just have no interest in anyone. That
Okay.
is my God honest truth of how I feel. Like, I don't want anyone. I'm good with me right now. And that's all I want to just,
Okay. Do you feel like that's benefiting you in your life?
yeah.
How so?
Because I don't want to keep putting myself out there for the same shit to keep happening. And the other thing is it's like I want to fully heal before I jump into anything else. I don't want to carry my shit from one shitty situation into another situation. I want to meet someone that matches my energy, like someone that meets the vibration that I'm on. I don't want to lower that. So that's why I want to keep healing so that I'm the best version that I could possibly be for someone. Like, I know I still have work to do,
Okay, so I wanna try and like just pull that apart.
right?
You already healed.
No, I
No,
didn't.
no, no, hold on. You, I'm not saying healed fully. You have healed.
I am healing, but I'm not healed.
But you already figured out. So one of the number one things that we talk about whenever it comes to the use and everything like that, you healed by you don't just jump from that shitty situation to another shitty situation. You used to do that and you don't anymore. So you have fixed one of the key components. You are not just jumping into that relationship because it's there anymore.
Right.
That was 100% one of your problems. So what is your next step?
So I've talked to my therapist, and my therapist explained it to me as like when you're healing, it's not a linear line. Like
There.
you don't go from front to back because sometimes you feel like you go 10 steps forward and 30,000 steps backwards. And they said, stop looking at it as a line. You have to look at healing as, because when you look at it like that, you spiral and you keep having those intrusive thoughts and you keep getting nowhere. But if you look at those spirals, all those knots in a spiral as a spiral staircase, and you look down, you realize that all those notches are your healing. They are all things that you've learned along the journey. And you got to compile all of that and put it together in your mind as one staircase and look down. I didn't lose that healing time because I might have opened back up that door again. That
Right.
healing is still there, like what you just said.
Right,
It's
right.
there because I've learned, but I still got a lot of learning to do before I want to move up forward. Like I got a lot more work on myself because there's a lot of trauma there. There's a lot of things. I don't think I would, to be honest with you, I'm not going to trust someone.
See, and this is what we, for the audience, this is what we're trying to figure out too, because what you call trauma, I call experience in the way we move through it. Do you think categorizing it as trauma and calling it trauma, do you think that hurts you?
No, I don't think that it hurts me. I think that I am to the point where I recognize my own growth. I recognize my own healing because I do. Like this time around, it only took me 3 weeks, not 18 years to see what I needed to see. Like that was huge for me.
Sure.
But there's still that trauma bond there. I really truly believe the trauma bond is what screws a lot of people up. When you've experienced trauma with someone else consistently throughout your relationship, it actually is like it makes you bond it to that person, even if it's a negative bond and it's hard to break.
I liked what Jess said. She said it's a lie to call it something other than trauma.
Because you need to recognize that it's something negative and like I just you need to know that it's no good for you and you need to get rid of it. And healing is what I'm more focused on, but I know that I need to work on the trauma because it's never going to go away. It's something that you consistently have to work on. Like I know for me, if I stop my therapy and call it a day and walk away, I will probably be right back. Like I've learned so much, but I also need that to consistently work on myself.
But you can have positive and negative experiences.
Right. I just think that trauma is something that you really do need to heal from. Like you need to pick it apart. I go from the front to the back to the middle, back to the back. It's like that. And then that's where it starts spiraling. And that's where my therapist said, you got to stop doing that. You have to just look at it as every single spiral is your healing. They're life lessons that you learned, and you have to pick up and learn from those. It's very hard when you have children with somebody. I think that that's another
Sure.
trauma bond.
Yeah.
But it's not just one child. It's multiple children. 4 kids with one person that's like that is difficult.
And you don't really have to heal from experiences, you learn from experiences. So what I'm trying to pull out of this is what
But you have to heal from trauma. You can learn from experiences, but you do have to heal from trauma.
But what makes it trauma? You see what I'm saying?
It's an experience. And
That's
I believe that trauma is that negative experience that we carry. It's like that baggage of, oh my God, I was never good enough. I didn't have self-worth. And a lot of it stems from childhood. A lot of issues come from childhood. It's learned behavior. We think that we deserve what we get and we don't.
why does it
We have
have to
some
be so big of a deal though?
because it affects me on a daily basis. Like
Sure.
if I don't work on certain things and try to really like figure it out, it stops me from moving forward. It makes my mental health spiral. I get caught up in with these intrusive thoughts, these panic attacks. I jump right up out of bed with the panic attacks, grabbing my chest. Why am I like this? Why am I grabbing my chest? Like I'm happy, I'm content. It's the trauma. It's things within my body, like my GI system's all screwed up. I have stomach issues. Like these things affect us physically.
I'm trying to figure out where, because a lot of people say they obviously need therapy and just they need it to get past certain things. And I'm trying to figure out, like, okay, if the anxiety is a traumatic experience that is now affecting me, what is that thing? Because I can't figure it out, because generally the anxiety comes on whenever I'm like talking to people and in that conversation and stuff like that.
Social situations.
Right. but there's no reason why, because you would think, because mentally I'm fine. It's literally just like a physical reaction that all of a sudden happens, but I can carry on a conversation and keep on doing my thing. I mean, I deal with people every single day where I'm talking to
What are some of the signs that you notice physically when you start to get anxious? I'm just curious.
I start getting hot. I start getting like red. I'm jittery. Yeah,
I notice
that's
I
it.
notice that when you're anxious, one of your coping mechanisms is you like to play with the Pokemon cards and start organizing them.
And fidgeting on something, which
That's
that's,
your way of grounding yourself, I believe.
yeah, and that's okay. And my biggest thing is none of this happened until after I got off the subs. You know what I mean? And it wasn't any other opiate. It wasn't anything like that. It was just the subs. Once I started using those and then got off, that's when the anxiety came.
You don't think that you previously had anxiety and you could have potentially been self-medicating yourself? Because I noticed that when I got in recovery is when I noticed I used to think I was Miss Social. I used to be here, there, and everywhere because the substance was allowing me to be Miss Social. But when I found recovery, I was like,
You got to understand beforehand, no issues, literally none. I
well,
did.
I do believe that medication can dull your emotions. I do believe that because now that I'm off of everything, I feel it's like my anxiety is just a little different. It's different. Like I feel different.
And I agree with that. It's beforehand I had nothing. I had times in between where I got off everything and this didn't happen because it is not like a minor thing. When the anxiety hits, it's like a punch in the damn face. But mentally, I'm fine, and it's not like I don't even know if I should call it anxiety because I'm not nervous. I'm not like worried about the conversation or anything involving any of it. It's just all of a sudden my body has a reaction that says, "Oh, you're gonna get flushed and you're gonna be start being jittery." And I don't understand what triggers that.
I believe it's generalized anxiety, to be honest with you. Like, and you don't realize it sometimes, but the little things throughout the day that start creeping, it starts building that anxiety. And then you'll get into a social situation and it's like, whoosh, like an instant flush.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But I notice in situations like that, you automatically go to grounding yourself. You do it without even realizing, which is a very positive coping mechanism.
Yeah, it maybe that's part of the thing because the way I process things, whenever I have like a trigger like that or whatever you want to call it, I instantly know, okay, I need to like pull out of this. So I guess mentally I can tell myself I am not anxious, but my body doesn't catch up.
Right. And that, hold on to that real quick. Let's put this back to trauma now. Your body feels that. That's the difference between trauma and just like going through regular emotions and living things. Your body feels the trauma. It's the same thing as what you just described. Like you get this feeling and it's like your body just knows something is off. And that is the feeling of trauma. It's like your mind could want something totally different, but the trauma keeps you, it affects your body, mind, everything.
So how do you fix that if I know I'm not actually anxious, but I can't keep up with it?
Learning positive coping mechanisms. I think that these things we weren't taught as children. Like our parents should have prepared us better. That's the things that I try changing. Like it could be the simplest thing that you weren't taught as a child. But like now you know that when you're overwhelmed, hey, let me pull out some of my Pokemon cards and organize them. Hey, when I'm overwhelmed, you know what I like to do before we get on PodTox? I'll start playing with my hair and my curling iron, because doing things like that alleviate my anxiety. Like pulling out the curling iron and sitting here talking to you, curling my hair is like, it's grounding me while I'm in the conversation. It eases my mind.
So one of the things that I haven't been able to try yet, because I'm figuring out exactly how I'm going to. I was reading a study the other day that basically said, like, you can do brain scans and everything, and whenever you feel certain things, certain parts of your brain will
Light up.
activate.
Right.
So you use the same part of your brain for gratitude as anxiety. So if you can feel grateful about something, you literally cannot be anxious and grateful at the same time. So that is one that I want to kind of explore.
I always say something similar. Even in a negative, horrible situation, there's always one thing of gratitude that you could pull from that. It could be the smallest thing, like, thank God, at least today it's not raining and the sun's shining. Like, the rest of my life is shit, everything else is falling apart. But you got to find that one thing and be grateful.
So is going to therapy and stuff, does it help you like believe that? You know what I mean?
Yes, because I have that positive reinforcement. I have that person reminding me that, hey, Marie, even though you think you're going backwards today, guess what, girl? You're not, because A, B, C, D, look at the ways you've changed. Look at the ways your text messages show that you're setting those boundaries, something that you could have never done before. Ever. Like, I've even showed my therapist my recent text messages, and she's like, girl, a month ago, you would have never had the balls to even put that into writing. But
Sure.
you sent that shit. That shows growth. That shows healing. That I need the constant reminder. That's what it is. For me, it's having that constant, you're okay. You're doing the right thing. You are healing. You're doing better. Like, I need that pat on the back. The accountability is everything for me.
Do not take this like the wrong way.
I'm not.
I never got that pat on the back for anything. You know, doing things right was just expected. It wasn't glorified or anything in any way whenever I was young. So maybe it's just like a self-sufficiency thing.
I tend, and you and I have had this conversation last week before PodTox together. I am very hard on myself.
Sure.
I'm hard on myself, and I constantly, like, I've had to learn over the years in therapy that sometimes, Marie, you need to go back to that version of yourself when you were a child, when you felt like no one else was there for you. And you need to comfort that version of yourself with compassion and grace, empathy, all the things that someone else didn't give to you. You have to give it to yourself. And let me tell you how healing that is. It is. Because I could go back to certain versions of myself where I felt alone. And that's what EMDR therapy's done for me. It's allowed me to go back to those broken, hurt, stuck points. And I go back and I say, you know what, Marie? You weren't alone. Look at you. You made it through. Look at who you are today. You don't put up with A, B, C, D. You don't let people walk all over you today. I go back to that hurt little girl that felt alone, abandoned. And I sit with her sometimes, and it hurts, but it's necessary. It's necessary for me to heal and move forward.
I see where you're growing, because like last week, that was probably the first time you have ever genuinely made me mad, and we had to talk it out. And it was just
Right.
I get that, and I know where you come from, because you didn't just shut down, and I feel like before you would have, and because you're a good talker. You're very good at talking with people and just kind of going back and forth and stuff. But whenever you really, really are down on yourself, you completely shut down. And I guess, I don't know. I feel like Shannon does that too. That drives me crazy too.
Well, you know what it is? A lot of times when I'm very overstimulated with my kids in general, I got a
Mhm.
lot going on. I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying to heal. I get to this point where I cannot take not one more thing, not another text message. I'll put my phone on do not disturb. I shut the ringer off because there's certain things, any little more outside noise, and it's like, I'm too overstimulated. I do it as a form of self protection. That's when I'm giving myself grace, when I'm actually sitting there and saying, you know what, Marie, you got to feel the feelings. You got to sit here and feel the bullshit that you don't want to feel. You feel it and you get through it. It's like, it's a coping mechanism for me. And I know a lot of people that do the same.
Do you do that throughout the day? Like shut off the phone, even whenever you aren't having a rough time and you're just being. Do you ever shut off the phone
A
and do
lot,
that?
my phone is usually on do not disturb. I don't even have the ringer on because it's too overstimulating for me. It's something that my therapist actually suggested.
Because
I
the
frequent because I'm always checking my phone. I don't need to see who's texting me, dinging, donging, because that outside stimulation throws me off sometimes and it gets my mood triggered in a negative mood.
that's one of the reasons why I'm not on TikTok and stuff as much anymore, and I don't get on my phone like that because it causes that
Right.
anxiety and just you're angrier, and it's just more uncomfortable because it's too much stimulation. There have been a million studies that have said the constant incoming knowledge and everything and incoming things to think about and consider, it's too much on an individual.
And it's like I disassociate when I get like that. That is me. There are times where, like this summer, I've been out at the pool with my kids and I'm sitting there, I'm there, I'm present, but I'm not there. There's a part of me that like travels outside of my body and I can like almost see myself outside of my body, but I'm there. Have you ever been in a place? It's like when there's so much going on and you just can't take the noise. It's like I disassociate. And then it's like everything starts moving slow around me.
Does
It's
that
just a
help you
very,
though?
no, it's kind of a very scary place to be in, to be honest with you. I get nervous that I'm not going to go back to like my normal presence sometimes, but it's a form of protection. It's something could have triggered me to make me feel that way that I don't even realize what it was.
I understand what you're saying. I've felt that way while on substances for sure, but
And I felt that way without substances. And that's a very scary place to be in when you know that you're not putting anything into your body, but your mind can take you to such a scary place. It is, there's been times, Kyle, where I never knew if I was going to ever be normal again.
is it because you feel like you aren't in control of yourself? Because things are so chaotic around you,
Sometimes
you're no longer in control of you.
it's like, no, there are times where it's so overstimulating around me that I kind of just have to. That's when I don't want to engage with people. I pull back. It's like it's a coping mechanism to where like when things get too loud and noisy, I check out. It's like Marie is literally gone. She's gone. I just check out.
I'm trying to understand though too, and ignore my naivety, but
It's okay.
why don't you just deal with what's going on?
Because when you're in such a place where like I don't know, having a lot of trauma. It's hard to see clearly. I see sometimes through rose-colored glasses.
Okay, okay.
It's not just that easy to be like, ha, fuck it. It's not. There. I internalize things. I hold on to things. I dwell on things. It's painful. Like Jess said, it's like you get to this point where you're like, I can't take not another thing on my plate. And I've been like that a lot lately. And a lot of people have noticed it because I don't want to engage with people. I'm checked out mentally right this second. Marie goes on like a little vacation.
See, and that is something I don't have an issue. Like I've got no problem with because I can have a million things going on, and I know how to move through it, and I'm trying to figure out how that is like a learned behavior, like something that I've grown through.
For me, the disassociation came from childhood. I know that I've done this like throughout my whole life. And that's why I was saying, like, I go back to those versions of me that needed kindness and compassion. It's like you have to put the trauma sometimes up on a shelf. You just gotta, it's like a big shelf that keeps stacking, and you just gotta put it in priorities. Like, what is important for me to deal with right this second? And that's what I try to do. Like, when I'm in therapy, I try to work on, like, EMDR therapy is working on my past trauma. We don't work on anything current. It's just what happened in the past. My regular therapy, I work on, like, what I'm dealing with currently. But I, in between, take those two therapies, and I kind of like, I do my own thing. Like, I go for my walks, I ground myself, but it's hard sometimes. I get to this place where it's like, I need to protect me. I'm the only one that's going to protect myself. No one else is going to do it for me.
And so Jess said men can compartmentalize. So that I see, and this is where this men and women discussion, I do not agree at all, not even close. I think there are slight advantages and disadvantages that women have and men have, but it's been scientifically proven that women are better at compartmentalizing, especially if they're mothers, because they're used to handling that crying baby. It's like on a primitive level. You're used to handling that crying baby and having to do the dishes and picking up the other kid and all a million things. You're used to being able to handle multiple things at once. So I think purely that it is based on in your childhood how much was going on. But what I'm trying to understand is, so in my childhood, like I said, my parents argued all the time. You would think that the way I would have needed to get through that would be to disassociate and just go on and do my own thing. But it's not. I learned how to handle the chaos and kind of like work around it and work through it. But why did I make it through that and you didn't?
Because also what you have to realize is everyone is genetically made different.
Sure, yeah.
But we've all had different trauma too, at different levels of trauma. And also, I might have more mental health issues, underlying mental health issues. And I think that that's really what it lies down to. I have always struggled my whole life with not feeling good enough, not having self-love for myself, hating myself. I just think it goes a lot to do with mental health disorder as well.
Do you feel like you put on, and not like negatively, do you feel like you put on a front for, we'll use TikTok as an example because it's easy. Do you feel like you put on a front for like a video or something, even if you're not doing okay?
No, because honestly, I'm very open and honest with my feelings. I put shit out there sometimes sometimes I'm like, damn, maybe I shouldn't have said that, because I am very open, honest, and raw when I say things. I don't come on and say and act like I'm good when I'm not good. When I need help or accountability, I will ask for help and accountability, because that's what I've learned in therapy though.
You don't feel like you learned that yourself?
Nope.
So the reason I ask that, and it's not because I know you share everything and you put yourself out there so that you can help other people and stuff like that. I'm just trying to see like when everything is okay, do you remind yourself that it's okay?
Yeah, when things are okay, I can recognize that they're okay. Like I have moments where I'm like, wow, like I was kicking ass, I was doing shit, I was getting shit done. But then I also beat myself up when I'm not up to par. That's me. But Kyle, you know that. We've had this argument last week. Remember? It's like
I know,
you
I
said,
know.
you're no, because it's the truth. You pointed it out to me, and my therapist says the same thing. I am hard on myself. It's the truth because I tend to beat myself up for what other people have done to me. It's the truth. And that's what makes it hard for me. That's what makes me not trust people.
Why though? Because fuck them.
I don't. I
You
don't and I
are in
won't.
charge of you. Like you are the only person you can control. So if these other people are fucking up your psyche and just messing with your emotions and all of it, fuck them.
Trauma. It's keeping me stuck. Trauma bonds. We need to do a whole freaking episode on trauma bonds alone.
I love it. See, and everybody says for half the stuff it's not that easy. So one of the things that we wanted to figure out with this, why is it that easy for some people? Obviously you have
I
the
don't,
mental health.
Kyle, I honestly feel like you're an exception to a lot of this, to be honest with you, because a lot of people carry trauma on their shoulders. Trauma makes people live life differently. I know the things that I've been through in my life have made me who I am today. And
Agreed.
it's made me, some of the fears that I have about moving forward or doing certain things, they're there because of trauma.
But if you don't try, you're never going to get there.
Yeah, but I'm content myself. I'm just content alone. Like, I don't want to open up that door. I'm so scared to open up that door.
See, and that's just one avenue. And my other part of that is you bring up the relationship thing a lot. So is there something on a subconscious level where you do want to be with somebody, but you tell yourself you don't because you don't want to be hurt again?
I don't know. I think I'm at the point where I'm good by myself. Like, that's straight up where I'm at. Like, I don't even think about moving on right now because it's not something. I want to make sure that I'm good, like I said, the best version of myself before I move forward. And I know I've done a lot of work, but I want somebody that matches my energy, not somebody that's going to suck my energy away. I want that. That's why I'm going to keep working on me.
Is that what you're doing differently so that you do find the right person this time instead of going back in that cycle?
Right. It's the truth. It's like, I feel like the more work that I continue to focus on me and put into me is just better in me for the next person. Like, but I'm not there yet.
Okay. Yeah. Do you, but you feel like you're getting closer.
I'm getting closer, but I'm also to the point where I am content just being by myself. I don't mind being by myself. It's hard because you got to think about it this way. I don't have a babysitter.
Right.
I got the kids up my ass 24/7. Where am I going? Let's think about it. Where am I going? Where's the time? Honestly, like coming onto social media, sometimes I use it for accountability. Like it helps me. Last week, I was struggling and I'm thinking, damn, Marie, like, how are you going to make it through today? Because I was in a really tough spot. I let my kids stay home from school with me because I needed someone right there with me, or else I was scared of what I was capable of doing. Like, I'm dead serious.
Right.
But it's because I was so like, here we go again. Here we go again. And it's like, to process certain things, sometimes people like you need to feel those raw emotions. And I'm one of those people. Like I got right on social media and I said, listen, I'm struggling. Please just, if I don't show back up on here for a few days, just check on me because I don't like, and that helped me because then it made other people aware that I was struggling and that I needed a little bit of extra like compassion just for a second because honestly, I was like, you know what? I might just delete my TikTok. Like, all this crazy shit was going through my head.
I feel like that's something hard too, and people who struggle with addiction struggle with it all the time. But impulse control is very
Right.
big, because whenever it comes to cheating, whenever it comes to I want to delete my TikTok or whatever, some people will just do that off the rip. And
Right. And that's the difference right there. You're actually right, because years ago, I might have just hit the delete button and been like, F it. I literally was so triggered to just be like, you know what? I don't want to show up for people no more. I'm not answering messages when people, but you know what? That's when I made sure I was on my phone and answering back to people and making sure that I engaged with people, because I knew that I needed connection of some sort. And if I didn't have that connection in that moment, I was afraid of what those intrusive thoughts were going to make me do. My whole world right now, my friend circle is relapsed. They're all freaking relapsed. Every single person that I would hang out with right now, like to hang out with, or they're in the middle of their own struggles right now. I feel alone. Hey, I could go join them. Like, you don't think those thoughts come through my head, but then I know I'm so far removed from that lifestyle. Like, it's not what I want to go down, but it's hard when your whole friend circle is in the midst of it. They are.
And that's the thing. Whenever you use they were your friends, and whenever you were still.
No, actually, these particular people are all people I got sober with. So it breaks my heart.
That's what I mean.
Right. It breaks my heart to see them in a relapse. Like, look at how we rebuilt our life. Like, I don't know. I got somebody very near and dear to me that's struggling right now.
We talked about it.
And just to not be able to even get in touch with her or to know that she's okay is hard.
And that's how people felt about us back in the day, though.
Right. And it's so weird to be on the opposite end of that. Like, I don't know, even like kids in my neighborhood, like I see them struggling, like they're outside all day without a parent. No one's fucking looking to see what's going on or if they're okay, like begging for food and water, or just like, what? What do you like I don't know. It's really affecting like my circle of people right now. And like they're the kids that I look out for, like, but it kills me at the same time. Like, and then I don't want to insult the parent by being like, oh, here's food. Because sometimes people don't take that well. They take that as like, oh, she's trying to butt in. Like, but really, I'm just trying to make sure that you're good, you know? Like, that's all.
I think you would be better, like, whenever you get out of that neighborhood to do stuff like that, because then you aren't right there and people can't start all the drama that they do around you. Because that's part of the problem that you have, too. It is still so tense in your area all the time, and there's so many people just going after each other, and everybody knows each other. It's just, I feel like it's a hard enough place, and you're trying to stay away from that as it is. So.
I know it. It's just hard because when your actual friend circle is just infiltrated by addiction right this second, and you're seeing the downfall, and you're watching the kids, like kids that you really love and care about, probably missing their parent, like their parent's not present right this second. I'm seeing it from an outside perspective, and it's killing me because there is only so much you could do. You can't jump in there and save that person. That person needs to do it, but it's hard when they're not there. And like the xylazine and the nitazine and all the stuff that's in the supply right now, like they're walking around with sores and black skin, and it's not good. Right.
Yeah.
Right. I have friends that are truly struggling to get off.
Well, and that's what we're trying to change. I mean, I know I feel like that's part of the problem. You've helped a lot of people on here, and whenever it's people directly in your little circle, you're just kind of helpless at the moment because you can't help them in any way.
Right, especially someone that there's like two right now that I'm just like, wow. Mm-hmm. And there are people that I found recovery with. So that actually kind of scares me too, because it makes me think, you know what, Marie? you need to increase your services when you see stuff like this going on, because it just makes me realize having those extra set of eyes on me sometimes isn't a bad thing. It holds me accountable. It keeps me sober.
I don't know. It's hard because you're still in the lifestyle and you're still hanging around people that are using and all that stuff. It's so easy to like make that excuse for yourself, but you've been out of that for a long time. Now you're still kind of in a stressful situation right now and there's a lot going on, which can be kind of a trigger, but you've been so far removed. I get wanting to help your friends, but like I dropped a lot of friends whenever I got clean.
But these are friends. These are friends that I will never drop. Like they are my ride or die. Like this is like tight shit. This is people that I will always love and support no matter what. If they're struggling, if they're not, no matter what, I want to show them that I still love them, that I care, that I'm there for them, that when you're ready, I'm ready. Like I can help you. Like,
do you feel like that holds you back? Because it's like you're living for somebody
no,
else.
because I'm just staying there waiting for them. But I reach out to them on a daily basis. Like, I love you. Good morning. How you doing? Don't forget you can do this, with like maybe an emoji of encouragement. Sometimes I just wait it out when I don't hear back or anything, but I just still let them know that they're okay. Like I love you. I just want to make sure that people know that they're loved.
Sure.
And I stay removed.
We are running pretty late.
I got you.
We might keep on going with this next week. We got to figure out exactly how we want to keep doing this.
Also, can we just do a really quick thing? We want some feedback.
Okay.
Kyle and I would like some feedback real quick of things that you think that people we can have on, things that we can improve on, what you would like to see from us.
Yep. Anything you want us to talk about or anything, we want to know what you guys like. Like, do you like these therapy session episodes? Do you like whenever Marie and I talk about the random stuff? Do you like the guests more? I think Marie and I usually like these a little bit more, but it's fun to have a guest on every once in a while. So that type of thing. Yeah, we'll see y'all next time.
Bye, Ricky. I'll see you guys.